evening, everyone. Welcome to Wembley as what has seemed like London's hottest day of the year draws to a close. But this is the start of a three-country, three-game tournament for the England Challenge Cup. By no means total availability for Graham Taylor, but from the last international in Turkey, he has been able to retain the midfield of Wise, Platt, Thomas and Barnes. Ian Wright comes in for Gary Lineker alongside Arsenal's Alan Smith. And Mark Wright is the captain for the first time in a completely changed defence. England without Des Walker for the first time for 2.5 years. The Soviet Union field 9 of the side, which picked up 2 important points in the European Championship last month away in Hungary. In come Tatarchuk in place of Alenikov, who was injured playing for Lecce in Italy on Sunday, and Dmitry Kuznetsov, who scored the winning goal against Scotland in a friendly in February. Manchester United's Andrei Konchelskis is here, and so too the gifted Alexei Mikhailichenko. It's a mini competition along the lines of the recent Rouse Cup, but that trophy couldn't be put up as a prize. The terms for the Rouse Cup state Scotland must be involved. So the FA, in fact, have gone out and bought a brand new trophy, and the competition for it starts now. England defend the goal to the right. Tony Dorigo, who's out of contract now at Chelsea and seems likely to be with the new club at the start of next season. The Soviet Union only flew in yesterday evening. The majority of this revamped squad based in Moscow. As for England, still 6 matches to play this season, including tonight. Argentina here on Saturday, of course. Then the 4-game tour of Australia, New Zealand and Malaysia. Here's Konchelskis. Just 1 game for Manchester United away at Crystal Palace. Had some problems with the paperwork getting the transfer completed. But he's been bought by Alec Ferguson to play wide on the right for United next season, and that's where he started here tonight. A foul by David Platt, or a foul not given because the Soviets kept the ball. In goes Thomas a-hunting.
The one thing I'm pretty sure about tonight, Martin, is that if this England side give this Soviet side as much space as they gave the Turkish side at the very end of last month, then they could be in for a torrid time tonight, because this Soviet side would really punish them, because they have some excellent players on show tonight with magnificent technical ability.
Like Mikhailichenko, who must be glad to be getting, he hopes, a full 90 minutes here. He's only been a substitute for Sampdoria over the last 2 or 3 months, which has surprised a lot of us. I questioned Anatoly Bishevets, the Soviet coach, about it last night, and he feels there might be a bit of player power going on in Italy, that Vialli and Mancini are worried about the competition. And they've perhaps, this is only opinion, I stress, have kept Mikhailichenko out of the starting lineup.
And just looking at the lineups earlier on, England quite predictably have got a pretty regiment 4-4-2. Looking at the Soviets, they have allocated number 5, Galliamin, to mark Ian Wright very tightly. Number 4, Sveba, to mark Alan Smith up front. And the rest are playing about 4 or 5 in midfield, with just Igor Kolivanov up front on his own.
Here's Platt. Good running by Thomas. This is encouraging for England. Smith's going to the far post. Ball put in with a lot of pace, but perhaps not sufficient height to suit Smith. And Chernyshov puts it behind for England's corner. Barnes waiting by the near post. Ian Wright for the flick on. Mark Wright is there as well. Platt and Smith coming from deeper. Mark Wright almost getting to it. And it's not a bad effort from Thomas, who was at the hub of the move in the first place, that won the corner. Just had 45 minutes in Turkey. The referee, by the way, comes from Spain. It is Emilio Soriano Aladren, which is something of a mouthful, and if I refer to him as the Spanish referee, I hope you'll understand. Kolivanov. Tatarchuk is the number 10. Here's Kolivanov, who's the top scorer in the Soviet League at the moment. They're about a third through their season. And he's got 11 goals at a goal a game. And Paul Parker might have a job keeping him under wraps.
I think that little movement there just showed you what could be in store for England tonight. Quite beautiful interpassing and good movement off the ball. So England are really, in midfield especially, have got to be careful that they don't get overrun in there.
This is Kuznetsov, not to be confused with the player of the same name, who was such a key figure in the World Cup for the Soviet Union and in the team that got to the final of the European Championship. Well, the referee not stopping the play, and Barnes waits for Dorigo. Smith and Ian Wright in the centre, and Mikhailichenko, who was the Soviet player down, is still rather licking his wounds, not near the halfway line. And now the referee has been prevailed upon to just have a look. Well, Barnes, as ever, when playing for England, finding that the expectations are high. Uvarov didn't really deal with it. And Mark Wright, but the goalkeeper was back in the correct place, although the whistle had gone. Well, what a season of desolation he's had with Derby County.
Yes, and comes very close to capping what must be a tremendously proud night for himself. As always, England causing teams problems. I don't see much of an infringement there myself, to be honest. I think England are a little bit unlucky, but are always dangerous from corner kicks.
Well, that's the linesman, Peter Mikkelsen, who in fact was a World Cup referee as well, and a very good one.
That's as good a tackle as Ian Wright's had all season.
This is how it happened. Whoops! Mikkelsen, incidentally, will referee the Soviet Union against Argentina on Thursday. It's Barnes who helps it on. Uvarov in trouble. No foul given, when there might have been that time. Looked more obvious the infringement than the previous one.
And more like the Jeff Thomas of Crystal Palace. The first two corners, they stayed at edge of the box, but this time decided to go in, take a chance and gamble on the flick from John Barnes, and it so nearly paid off for them.
Alexander Uvarov, 31 years old. Well, Manchester United fans will be watching this young man with special interest tonight. Here's Mikhailichenko, Kulkov and Shalimov on the left. A lot of players forward for the Soviet Union. Mark Wright meets it. Flat to Barnes for England. Platt. England trying to respond to Graham Taylor's wishes to play international football at a quick pace. Not to sacrifice the technique in doing that, but not to dwell too much in the middle of the field.
I'm a great believer in that, Martin. I think our success at club level over the years is always because we've played at a game at pace, and the European sides haven't liked that. And I've always been disappointed when national sides have committed the ultimate crime, really, and played to suit the team they're playing against. Cause them problems, that's my motto. Give them things to worry them.
Tatarchuk, who I last saw getting sent off in the Olympic final in 1988 in Seoul. But they won the gold medal even without him, and the coach Bishevets was in charge then. But here's Barnes trying to unsettle his plans. Platt. Gary Stevens back at right back, and Barnes gets a pretty free header. And I must say, the game has started in a very entertaining manner.
In a very positive manner from England's point of view. Super ball in from Gary Stevens, and that's a pretty poor header by John Barnes' standards. He has the space, as you see. The marking's not good. That's free header from about 8 yards. I would have expected John Barnes to have hit the target from there. But a good positive start from this English side.
And a well-driven cross by Gary Stevens that will make him feel at home. He hasn't played for England before under this regime. His last match was the game for 3rd and 4th place in the World Cup in Bari when England were beaten by Italy.
I think that's another reason why you can be sure there's going to be a little edge on this game from England's point of view. With people like Chris Woods, Gary Stevens, Paul Parker, Tony Dorigo trying to make the most of sometimes limited chances now.
Konchelskis. This is Kuznetsov, the scorer against Scotland. Mikhailichenko. Kolivanov. It's a lovely turn. Mikhailichenko. Tatashuk. It's not deflected and in. A goal for the Soviet Union and a cruel one for Chris Woods and company to concede.
Yes, it is a cruel goal, but you couldn't help but admire the build-up play, could you? They had kept the ball for a long period of time. Tatashuk has a shot, and the new skipper is unfortunate enough to get in the way, leaving Chris Woods absolutely helpless. But I did say if you give this team room, then they're the type of team that will punish you. They get a bit of luck here. You see Chris Woods goes, he has it totally covered, and that's the kind of luck a goalkeeper doesn't need.
England 1 goal down with 9 minutes gone. Parker for the moment keeping an eye on Kolivanov. Here's Kulkov. I must say it's a far more relaxed party from the Soviet Union than there would have been perhaps 10 or 12 years ago.
What surprised me when we were waiting for the coaches to come in, I expected them to all toof off the bus with red tracksuits on with CCCP across the back of them, but would you believe it? Designer tracksuits on the lot. How times change.
Galyamin is the number 5, only his 5th appearance for the Soviet Union tonight. Comes from the club that leads the league, the Army Club in Moscow. Parker with England's free kick. Uvarov punches it off the head of Mark Wright. Thomas lets it back, and it's turned in by Alan Smith, who gets his first goal for England, and it's 1-1.
Well, your first goal's always very special in your country's colours, and Alan Smith will be a very, very proud man. Long free kick that causes the damage. The goalkeeper, Uvarov, comes all the way, but it's a very poor punch. Jeff Thomas wastes no time, and that's just instinct. As a striker, he's not looking where the goals are, but he's got a rough idea, and all he's tried to do is steer it in, and you're ever so happy when they go into the top corner like that. This is a tremendous start to this game.
27 goals for Arsenal this season, Alan Smith, including one here, of course, in the FA Cup semi-final at the other end of the ground. But he's broken his duck for England, and he really was one of the few consistently successful players in the game in Turkey recently. He deserved to retain his spot, and he's repaid the manager's faith. It's interesting that his only appearances, this is his 7th, have come in the 2 Arsenal Championship winning seasons. In the intervening season, when Arsenal slackened off the pace, Smith came out of the spotlight. That's the way it's often for strikers. But this is a very good international game of football. Tatashuk. Often, I think we've left Wembley occasions for friendly matches at this stage in the season a little less than satisfied, but that's not going to be the case tonight.
Yeah, too many players with something to play for.
Smith is up well. In comes Ian Wright and Platt. Gary Stevens had a look round to see whether he had time to control, which he did. Here's Wise. Parker. Dorigo. Smith takes it from him. Barnes. Everyone but Kolivanov back for the Soviet Union. Beautiful play. Barnes to Dorigo. England coming in at the near post in the shape of Smith, and scrambled behind by Chernyshov.
Certainly a more confident-looking move from England, wasn't it? Everyone wanted to get involved there.
And where the Soviet Union are looking very vulnerable is in the air. The goal came that way, with the goalkeeper not dealing with it decisively. Wise has another chance to catch them out in that respect. But Mark Wright hoped some of his team were going behind him, which wasn't the case. The last time, let's just look again at the combination here between Barnes and Dorigo.
Well, a lovely ball with outside their foot. Just here, I wonder if Tony Dorigo could have picked someone out. There's a lot of bodies in there, and coaches and managers do tend to tell people when they get in that position, just drive it across the edge of the 6-yard box and you might be lucky. But I always like to see people at this quality try and pick a player out, try and just drop it in someone's foot.
Coming up to 20 minutes gone in the opening international of this tournament for the England Challenge Cup. It's 1-1. Here's Wise. Hope to still be around. Graham Taylor's plans done. Oh, and Platt. That's a penalty. And David Platt has earned it. And he, I think, will take it. Because there's no Gary Lineker, of course.
Just a prime example of trying to do too much in a difficult area. I think it's just Chernyshov that tries to work it out instead of just clearing it. And David Platt just pounced, and I don't think there can be any doubt there was a penalty, and even less doubt that he was going to take it.
Well, he's never taken a penalty for England before. He's never scored an England goal at Wembley before, but this is the perfect chance. And he does, 2-1. Two minutes before half-time.
You see, it's all about putting teams under pressure. Commits that sin, but look at David Platt. Pounces on it. The contact's there, it may not have been much, but David Platt knows there's a penalty on the end if he goes down.
So England have turned it around in a very entertaining first half. It was Faber, I think, who caught David Platt after he'd just taken a stride past Mikhailichenko. And there was some thought that David Platt might get the captaincy vacated by Gary Lineker. Well, he didn't get that, but he did get the other part of the job, the responsibility of taking the penalties. And you saw how quickly he picked the ball up to go and get it. He wanted to take it, and he was very confident that he would score. Back from Kuznetsov, and there's a lack of confidence at the moment about the Soviet Union. And England could really take a grip now, which would be slightly against the balance of the half. Half in which the Soviet Union have contributed greatly to the entertainment level. But you always feel England might make something from a corner. Wise takes it. That's Mark Wright. Well, they're not discouraged playing the ball around on the edge of their own penalty area. It is half-time, and this relatively small crowd, fulsome in its appreciation of what they've seen here. An invigorating 45 minutes, which started badly for England, but finished well when David Platt converted the penalty after Alan Smith had got his first goal for his country, equalising the first goal of the match from the Soviet Union. A shot by Vladimir Tatarchuk that went in off Mark Wright. A touch of controversy, and the Soviet Union manager, who is, I think, traipsing a little along behind Graham Taylor and Laurie McMenemy, who are more anxious to get to their seat, Anatoly Bishevets, was saying last night that these two countries here are united in controversy because both have suffered from the hand of Diego Maradona. Ours, of course, is well remembered from '86, and in 1990 Maradona should have been penalised, giving away a penalty when Argentina met the Soviet Union in that group game that Argentina eventually won 2-0. Shalimov, who's stayed mostly on the left-hand side. Mostovoy, Kulkov, Galyamin. Oh, and Mostovoy! Chris Woods made an excellent save. He'd started to come and was very nearly caught out by his movement off his line. But he thrust up a hand and somehow kept the ball out. Oh, and Mikhailichenko couldn't take that in his stride.
Well, you say it was an excellent save. I thought it was a magnificent save. Mostovoy loses Dennis Wise. That's the problem. But look at that for instinct. That's a magnificent save. Mostovoy must think he's scored here. Chris Woods is only 3 or 4 yards away from him. He headers it, he thinks it's in, and that's pure instinct.
Shalimov. Still plenty of life in the Soviet Union. Svebar. Certainly England's pressing brought them the reward of the penalty and forced another mistake then. Mikhailichenko. Only Kolivanov ahead of him. And he tries to get through beyond Paul Parker. It's a good contest. And the referee has given it against Parker, but where has he given it? It's a free kick on the edge.
Well, it's exactly where he says it was a free kick. I don't think it's there, I think it's there. It's very, very close, Martin, very close indeed. Paul Parker will be a relieved young man that he's gotten away with that.
We're 12 minutes into the second half. And the Soviet Union, even if they did get the rough end of that decision, still have a chance here to make it 2-2. They've set their own little wall to try and catch out Chris Woods, Mikhailichenko or Kolivanov. It's Kolivanov, deflected and just away from the goal, otherwise it might well have gone in.
Well, Tony Dorigo deserves a big pat in the back for that, because it was his crucial deflection that really kept that from the top corner.
And suddenly, England have hit a really difficult spell in the match. Wright gets to it. This is Svebar. Shalimov. Mikhailichenko. England trying to force them out. Shalimov beat two with the turn. If England do get it, they might well break. Platt, right. He didn't get very far. Here's Shalimov. Kolivanov. And now Konchelskis. Mikhailichenko coming in. And crossing well and catching his teammates a bit by surprise, Mostovoy. Well, in a way, it deserves something better at the end of it. And it's admirable play from the Soviet Union. And the free kick, well, but for Tony Dorigo there, Chris Woods could have been picking the ball out of the net.
Just let's just see a little bit of encroachment, but we'll let him away with that, considering the outcome.
And now Peter Mikkelsen, the Danish linesman, signals for a double substitution for England. Dennis Wise and Ian Wright are going off. And it's the new and the old coming on, really. David Batty and Peter Beardsley. And Beardsley getting a terrific reception, recognition for what he's contributed to England. It's his 49th cap.
And I think just passing the message on to Alan Smith that he's going to play up there on his own. Beardsley's come immediately to wide right and David Barry just inside, just to make numbers more even in that midfield area where England have suffered for long periods of tonight.
Well, Smith up on his own, immediately earned a free kick. Beardsley crosses, and Jeff Thomas trying to take that with a side foot volley. It's going to be a corner. Galliamin, who was penalised for the foul on Smith, had stayed down with some Wembley cramp, I think.
Is that a sign of their late arrival last night, I wonder?
Most unusual for a team to come and play England less than 24 hours before the kickoff. No time for any proper training. They stayed in a hotel by Hyde Park, stretched their legs there today.
It's unusual when you realise what a strength-sapping pitch this Wembley surface really is as well.
So Peter Beardsley will take the corner in the absence of Wise. Well, it was Barnes who helped it on. Thomas, Crystal Palace style, storming in.
Yes, he's certainly consistent in his attitude of wanting to get in there, is Jeff Thomas. When you have someone like like John Barnes in the near post, that's pure out the Liverpool locker. Beardsley knows where to deliver it, and Thomas is always going to be looking to get on the end.
Mikalichenko. England, though, looking strong. Thomas. What can Barnes do this time? Smith! Oh, it was a great cross. And Alan Smith knows it.
Well, Alan Smith will wonder how on earth he's not got his second goal in an England jersey. John Barnes delivers the perfect cross right on his head. It's got goal written all over it. And that's as poor a header as Alan Smith has had this season, I'm sure.
Mikalichenko. The word's getting around players now that you're in the commentary position, Andy, that their heading has to be of excellent quality to get the verdict from you.
I don't think I'm being unfair to Alan, and I'm sure after the game he'll be honest enough to admit that.
I'm sure too.
Here we see it again. John Barnes gets a good advantage from the referee here. Shakes the sweeper off and delivers a perfect cross right into the danger area. Watch this, it's a free header. He just tries to get it down too much.
And David Platt has given his usual energetic performance in midfield. He's running to the right of Batty with Barnes to the left. Dorigo. Thomas outside him. He'll be pleased to get the full 90 minutes tonight, having been taken off at half-time in Turkey. Dorigo, good work by Platt. Batty peeling off him. Player who's only ever scored one goal for Leeds. Platt, yes, 3-1! And that rounds the night off nicely. With 2 minutes to go. David Platt second. England 3, the Soviet Union 1.
Yes, and a real good build-up in which David Batty played a big part, but what a great first touch from David Platt. That gave him the opening, that gave him the opportunity, and he strikes a great shot from the edge of the box to give Uvarov no chance. But you see there, David Barry plays a big part, holds up well. Peter Beardsley just plays a lovely little ball into David Platt, turns, one touch, and it's in the bottom corner. That's a great finish.
24 goals for Aston Villa during the season. As I mentioned earlier, he's been away on tour and picked up 4 more goals. And 2 tonight for a midfield player. Well, it's an astonishing output.
And who am I to suggest at the beginning of the game that he should maybe have thought about taking a little rest? He looks so full of energy. Yes, and he has given a wonderful midfield performance at international level. He showed all the attributes you need. Not only scoring goals, but how many times have we spoke about him back in his own penalty area, helping his defence out.
6 goals for England, Platt has now. This is his 17th cap. He was a bonus in Italy, and Graham Taylor has built on that, and is building his team around David Platt, who will get the headlines. 2 goals for Platt, 1 for Alan Smith, as England's much-changed side has started this quest for the England Challenge Cup with a win, a prestigious win too. Graham Taylor's methods may not have satisfied all his critics over the past few months, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of praise about after this highly enjoyable international in which the Soviet Union have played an excellent part, and Graham Taylor goes to Anatoly Bishevets to share in the congratulations. England 3, the Soviet Union 1.